just wanna lay you down and give you something. Just don't fall in love.
Hey man, how's it going?
Doing pretty well, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. Especially, it's nice finally meeting you.
Yeah, man. So what have you been up to lately?
Not too much. I actually just got back from a session. We were working on some music with my co-writer. We were just like working on some pitches and stuff.
All
so that's why I'm a little late, but sorry about that.
Oh man, no problem. So,
how about you?
Pretty good. As far as the channel going, uploading music every day, and
yeah, I've been seeing.
You said what?
I've been seeing that.
Yeah,
I've been checking it out, man. It's dope.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So yeah, I've been doing that, and then trying to do interviews as well. And the interviews are there for other artists and people that are interested in some of the content we produce. Hopefully we can
Yeah, definitely.
Like you said, you learned some stuff from the last interview I did with All Day. So
yeah, for sure. It was a really interesting interview, actually. I loved how everything flowed, and you kind of learned a lot about All Day. I had never actually heard of him before your interview, and actually I became a fan of his music through your interview. So
oh, that's awesome, man. I'll definitely pass that along to him next time I speak with him. Yeah, so are you in San Francisco or LA? Can you tell us a little bit about your transition from where you are now to where you're going?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually in LA right now, but I lived in San Francisco for about 4 to 5 years or so. I went to school up there for animation and visual effects.
Okay.
Ironically, so I did animation and visual effects for probably about 5 years in school, and as I was finally coming to the point of graduation, I started to become kind of jaded and kind of, I guess, sort of numb to the whole daily routine of what's involved in studio animation and stuff like that. And I kind of realized at the end of it that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life kind of working to make somebody else's vision come true, as opposed to sort of trying to make my own visions come true. And I at the end of graduation, I had to sit down with my mom, and I told her that I wanted to pursue music full time, and she was surprisingly really supportive of it. So I guess a few months after, I moved down to LA and started working down here.
So how long ago? When was this exactly?
This was I just moved down here September of last year. So but the whole ordeal was probably about a year ago now, almost a year ago.
Okay. And so I'm assuming I know on your YouTube channel you've been doing covers and uploading your own music for about 4 years now, give or take a few years.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've definitely been doing music for a while. When did you start really start doing music?
It's a good question. I actually started doing music way back in grade school. Honestly, I've always been very musical, and my family's been musical. I went to a private Christian school when I grew up, so choir in church and band and stuff like that was always a big thing. I learned piano when I started when I was in grade school. I was in the band when I was in middle school and high school, and choir and all that. So I guess all the way through my grade school career is pretty much how I kind of got into music. And then from there, I didn't really start producing and recording myself until about the end of high school, and that's when I probably posted up my first cover on YouTube, which I think it was Adele, Someone Like You, or something like that.
Okay. So when did you know for sure that you could make it in the music industry? When did you realize it turned not just from a hobby but into something you were going to actively pursue and become your profession?
It's funny. I wouldn't say I ever came to that realization until pretty recently, actually, within the past couple months maybe. But I guess it was just more of a thing where, I had been posting covers on YouTube for my entire college career, and it kind of helped me to gain a fan base, and it was a small fan base, but it was still a very loyal fan base within the YouTube community. And a few of my songs, my covers and everything went somewhat viral. They got like a ton of views and got a lot of attention. And that's when I guess I first started realizing that it was something that I could really do full time, and I could probably, actually make something out of it. I think the first time I actually ever had a small taste of that type of feedback was probably when my cover for, which one was it? I think it was Somebody That I Used to Know.
Okay, yeah.
When that one first kind of blew up, and then shortly thereafter, or maybe like a year or so later, I released Taylor Swift Blank Space, which kind of blew me up a lot.
Yeah, man, I saw.
That's when I started to be like, hey, like, I should kind of make this serious,
Yeah, I saw the Taylor Swift Blank Space cover, 4 million hits on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
It's insane to think about. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. And then to I guess even look at. Like, I look at stats a lot, so I'll like be peeking in on the webpage and looking at stats and stuff and seeing certain people like played it like 100+ times in like a day, and I'm just like sitting there like what the hell? Like, I can't even imagine that type of reception. So that's kind of when I first started to sort of take it really, really seriously. But even before that, like I had been flying back and forth between San Francisco and LA working on like co-writes and co-production for certain YouTube artists and stuff like that. Like I've done some stuff mostly for the artist Jason Chen. I don't know if you know him, but he's pretty big in the Asian YouTube community. And I co-wrote his biggest single, Best Friend.
Yeah, 17 million views on that one. I was checking last night.
Yeah.
So
I haven't even looked at it in a while, but yeah.
That's amazing, man. So how did that collaboration come about? The collaboration with Jason Chen on Best Friend.
How did that come about? So I want to say I met Jason through another friend of mine, a producer friend of mine named Smash Hitter, and I think Smash Hitter was like the first person that I ever sort of reached out to on the internet and kind of like sent my stuff out to. I was like, hey man, I love your stuff. Like, can you check out my stuff? Let me know what you think. And he got back to me, and then so I flew down to. I think the first time I met him, I flew down to LA, and he played like this piano track that he had, and we were kind of just vibing out in the hotel room. He played the piano track, and I kind of fell in love with it. I just started doing like melodies and stuff, and we kind of just wrote it there on the spot. And then after that, the demo had been sitting on our hard drive for I want to say about a year or so, maybe, before Jason Chen heard it, and I guess he fell in love with it, and we made some quick changes, and then he recorded it.
Oh, okay. So pretty much you had made the song beforehand, and then he heard it, and he basically added his own twists and touches to it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how that came about. So, okay.
But it was sitting for a good minute. I find that kind of happens a lot with the music industry, where you'll do a demo or something, and then it'll probably sit around on a hard drive or be tossed around between different people for months to a year, maybe even more, before anyone actually picks it up.
Yeah, that's amazing how that happens. Like people sit on these hits for a while.
Yeah, seriously.
But I guess timing is everything.
Yeah, that's the good thing about I feel like about having a good song though. Like when you have a genuinely good song, it can stand the test of time. Like you can always change production and kind of like update sounds and everything, but if you have a good song, it can last for years before anyone actually even gets to hear it.
So I mean, so you majored in animation and stuff. That's still pretty artistic. Do you use any of that stuff now, or are you strictly music?
I use a lot of it, actually. I think that's what, at first when I decided to stop doing animation, I was worried that I would kind of lose, I guess, that sense of myself, that part of myself. But what I found was that I began to use sort of the techniques and the qualities that I learned through doing animation in my music work. So now, I pretty much handle all my own artistic stuff as far as my music is concerned. Like I'll do my own album covers, and then I found out that he was an actor on The Hunger Games. And I was like, oh shit. So I regardless, I reached out to him. I sent him a message on SoundCloud because I didn't have any of his contact information or anything, and